Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation Board of Directors. I will note that proof of notice was provided and is on the second page in our packets. I'll move, we've got, looks like two sets of minutes, Michelle. First one is our June 23rd, 2025 board meeting minutes, and I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved for June 23rd. We'll move to the minutes of the August 4th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting. And again, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, looks like we have one item of new business, and I will turn it over to Michelle to introduce it.
Thanks, Mayor. So the main item that we wanted to formalize today were the amendments to the block challenge program eligibility terms that we had discussed at the governance committee meeting last week. So there was just a couple things that we wanted to kind of clear up in terms of ineligible expenses that we wanted to just make sure was clearly called out for applicants that way, that was something that we were being transparent about prior to accepting an application. Obviously, if we don't have anything explicitly enumerated as a ineligible expense, it's something that we have to accommodate. So the ones... Consider, yes. The items that we had discussed at last week's meeting that were based off of just a combination of things that I think would be considered kind of in line with other policy objectives that we have related to things kind of like urban tree canopy, things of that nature, as well as just a couple other kind of design considerations. And they're also in line with the terms of programs in other communities where we have been modeling this off of. So the main ones being in the event that a homeowner is looking to do, actually if you look at page 13 in your packet, these are all called out kind of in order. So the first one being we would not consider costs to enclose a front porch that is currently open. We would not allow a porch removal without an in-kind replacement. So you can do a porch removal, you just need to put it back comparably. In the event that you were looking to remove a tree on your private property, we would consider that, but we would look for some additional documentation to kind of substantiate that, number one, it's something that's visible from the right-of-way, and then number two, that there's a opinion from a qualified arborist or landscape professional that kind of ascertains that it is either a hazard to the immediate property surrounding or a diseased tree itself that needs to be removed. And then additionally, chain link fencing in a front yard fence.
Did we agree on that? We didn't.
I thought that we had landed on no chain link fence in the front yard. But if I got that incorrect, that is fine and we can scrap it. Okay.
Yeah.
And and I'm sorry, I missed this one, but the enclosure of the front porch, why is that something that we wouldn't do?
I think the idea there being that if your front porch is currently open and kind of walling it off, it just separates you further from the street in a way that kind of sends a signal that is not necessarily the signal that we're trying to send, right? So if your porch is already enclosed, obviously you're looking to do new windows or something like that, you got it like that, that's fine. But I think just in terms of kind of new work like that, something in the front yard, it's just something that looking to avoid for right now, understanding the scope of, there's many other things that we would consider allowable, so.
What about the reverse? So if someone already has a closed-in portion, they want to open it up?
That's fair game.
All right, so yeah, I do recall Councilor Caldwell mentioning chain link fences and as, you know, that's something that people opt for. So I think we were not able to achieve any consensus on that one, so I think we agreed that we were just going to leave that off of the list. There were. Caitlin.
So, just anything goes?
So I heard no fences. I heard some fences but not chain link. And I heard chain link is okay too. So do you want You want
It's
you
not
want me to call it to
anything
vote?
goes, Caitlin. It's not anything goes, I just think we have to come to a consensus, because a fence is a fence. And like Councilor Caldwell pointed out, and Michelle, you attested to it, that the cars run through those fences on certain corners.
Yeah, I completely understand why people want front yard fencing. I just hope that we can have a design.
Because you put a wood fence up on Melissa's corner, that car going straight through that wood fence into that house.
Chain link fence is going to be a highway guardrail to stop a car.
We have a preference stated, and then subject to review. That-
Onto that?
I mean, you guys don't allow Sharp to do fencing.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have to get a million sign-offs for it.
So it is possible.
This is still in question.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that it's important to note that if folks want to put up a chain link fence pending permit, and zoning approval, they can. I think what we're trying to do is encourage investments in projects that we think are aligned with the goals of our housing strategy. So to your point, Karen, we could articulate those or encourage those, but not prohibit the use of a chain link fence.
And as a point of clarification with the Sharp, I think it's been something that there's been some policy changes over periods of time. I know that there's certainly been some exceptions that have been made in very specific cases where there's been, in the neighborhoods, I think understanding where a lot of the neighborhoods where Sharp is most widely used, there's specific homeowners that have concerns that amount to kind of from a crime prevention standpoint, there's a lot of traffic that they're trying to create some defensible space. And understand kind of there's a lot of ways that you can maybe think about it. I think in the context that we're working in, particularly in some of these early neighborhoods, I don't know that that's necessarily always the same case that residents would be having. Certainly doesn't preclude anyone from wanting something like that, but it is a consideration. And in the same way, from a signal standpoint, again, a chain link fence in a front yard does send a signal in a way that, I think people obviously clearly, as evidenced by the discussion here, have different schools of thought with it, so.
And I think that because this is our first go at it, our first year, who even says people are even going to ask for fences? We don't know what they're going to ask for.
I don't know that they're going to ask for them, but I think I think we raised the question, just understanding that some of the programs that we were modeling it off of, it is something that is explicitly called out. If we do not enumerate it, it doesn't mean that we cannot deny it, but it does mean that, I think just from kind of a transparency and being clear about what we will and will not do, I certainly think it's just a good practice to be able to kind of call those things out if there's something that is a hard line that we don't want to work with, just so that people are clear on that from the beginning and there's no confusion. But I think we could delay a little bit if people kind of feel like we want to just see what happens, cross the bridge when we come to it.
I've noticed that a lot of the buyers who are purchasing home headquarters as new builds are choosing to put front yard fences.
Right.
And they mostly seem to be choosing that white vinyl.
Yeah, there's like a little, almost not official neighborhood association there. So the ladies tell the other ladies.
I was
they've all
wondering.
gotten the white PVC fencing.
Okay.
It looks very nice.
Are they using a particular funding source, or are they doing out of pocket?
It's a mix.
Okay.
Whereabouts? Which
Like
project?
on Woodlawn.
There's quite a few of them on Kennedy, too, that have the
Yeah.
fences like that.
What about somebody who wants to do bushes around their house? Would that be an eligible expense? Because that seems to be it takes a lot of effort, so I never will do it. But it seems like that's a viable option too.
Yeah, landscaping is very much welcomed. So.
Can I go back to the porch, not the enclosure or non-enclosure, but the entrance portion? Say someone has, most people have the regular middle of the house entryway. If someone wants to move their entrance to their porch on their driveway side, they no longer want to get out their driveway, walk up and walk around. Is that eligible?
think we would first need to clear what the scope of the design is with the zoning and permits team for something like that. So I think it would be kind of situational. But I think what we're trying to get out there is if you have an existing front porch, we don't want you to just completely tear your front porch
I'm not.
out.
I just
and-
wanted to ask
Yeah.
that question, if that is something that would be, it did not necessarily
Yeah.
have to do with the enclosure part, it's
Yeah.
just more or less if someone wants to change their entrance
Yeah.
to their porch.
I think it would come down to a question of the design. Obviously, it would need to be for this particular program. It would still need to be something that's visible from the right of way. And then I think it would be a permitting egress kind of question of, I think there's some particular rules there as far as two entry exit points. So we
You mean
would,
put
we
the
would consider it though.
Steps on the side of the porch.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
normally steps start in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
If they are adding a railing in the middle, taking out that sidewalk, and they may already have a sidewalk on their
Yeah.
driveway side, and having their entryway on that.
Yeah, again, I think that sounds pretty straightforward, just subject to kind of permit sign off on that, but
Yeah, there shouldn't be any zoning impediment to that. I've
Yeah.
seen people do that.
So, Michelle, on fencing, is the way in which we're listing this, is it appropriate? Is listing other material types as a preference and option here, or,
yeah, I think so.
okay,
Yeah,
while not explicitly saying that, saying chain links are not eligible, just saying that's not our preference. Do you think, Council President, that achieves the objective, or should we just leave it alone?
I think we should just leave it alone.
Okay. And I suspect if Councilor Caldwell were here, she would say the same. So let's not, we've spent a lot of time on this already. I think that we can revisit someday if we end up with chain link fences.
Once the
All over the
applications
city.
come in, I want to see what came in for fences.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that's it for ineligible. Did you go over
yeah, there's
individual participant requirements?
Just a couple additional articulations that through some subsequent communication with the law department, we're putting these in here as kind of out of an overabundance of caution to clarify some nuances related to the language that we have in our procurement policy as well as in the SURA procurement policy. And so essentially, I think in some of these cases, it is going to be largely dependent on the scope of work. So if you're doing something that is just basic landscaping, it doesn't require any kind of permit, basic kind of straightforward, whatever, we would likely not require any additional paperwork to be submitted for something like that. There may be a situation in which if you're doing work that is over a certain dollar threshold or otherwise pulling a permit, we will ask for just a copy of homeowner's insurance, and if you are hiring a contractor, proof of liability insurance for the contractor. So,
Does it have to be 3 vendors? It is really difficult. It is almost impossible right now to get 3 quotes in a timely manner in any way.
I do think that for a lot of the scopes of these programs, understanding that there is a significant amount of things that people might be doing that very well could be DIY projects, I think what would be sufficient to fulfill this would be even something as simple as I got an online quote from 3 suppliers. So I think things like that, we can work with it. I think where we'll have to be a little bit more intentional about it is when we get into the larger grant dollar amounts, just because you trigger a lot more stuff with procurement at that point, but.
It's laborious, and we have such a limited pool of contractors in this city.
Yep.
That it just extends the time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you miss the window
Yeah.
of being able to accomplish
Yeah,
things.
totally understand. I think the goal is that we work with people on their scopes in such a way where we will minimize the instances in which we need to ask for this, but I think we wanted to make sure that the language was at least in there so that we have the, again, going back to kind of being transparent about worst case scenario, what we might need someone to do. We just want to communicate that it may be something that we would need to ask for depending on their specific situation.
Okay.
And I think that's the bulk of any of those additional changes. So I think we would just be looking to memorialize that the board is in agreement that we would add these into the current eligibility policy, and then obviously we will still, in any instance that we would have kind of a deviation from policy on the books, we would bring those back to the board to clarify or approve on a case-by-case basis as appropriate.
Okay. So I don't believe we have, yeah, so somebody need to make a motion. And I guess that motion should clarify that currently fencing is not an ineligible, front yard fencing is not an ineligible project. So I'll entertain a motion.
Did you hear me?
We got.
Okay.
Council
my voice
President
tried to go
offers the
out.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, other business. Back to you, Michelle.
All right, so I think I'm going to ask Sue to come up and give us a little bit of an update. I think the bulk of our discussion, besides the eligibility requirements when we met last week, was centered on next steps for how we would proceed with the resident advisory committee appointments. So I think Sue hopefully has some good news for everyone, so she's just going to kind of walk us through that, and if there's any further questions, we can talk through.
Yeah, and I think everyone was, well, Karen wasn't here last week, but Councilor Jones-Rouser wasn't here, but really we were looking at the time at two different options. One was just proceeding with the language, ordinance language as written, and developing a advisory committee. And at the time, or the other one was that we would just abandon the committee altogether. I think, what we heard from members of the governance committee was that, having a resident advisory committee is important. But I think we all agreed that when we went down this path, we didn't anticipate that it would present the conflict that Corp Council believed that it was presenting in terms of being able to participate in the program. So with that context, just want to turn it over to Sue.
Thank you, Mayor. And to the mayor's point, I think the ordinance was done with wonderful intentions, and so is the code of ethics that this board adopted. I think there is an unintended consequence when you read those documents together. So I have made a proposal that I submitted to Michelle just a short time ago that would require an amendment of the ordinance to make clear that the advisory board, which is an important part of this, will be used to help identify potential programs in your designated areas that they feel could help further your mission. And they will make those recommendations to this body, and this body will decide whether or not you want to adopt and move forward with that program. What they won't be able to do as a body is review and determine applications. By making those changes in your ordinance and a couple of tweaks to your code of ethics, it would allow board members of the advisory board who made a recommendation about a program to this body, if this body adopted it, they could then seek to participate as long as they disclosed as part of their application, I am a board member. The important part for the staff is that when you administer your review of the applications, you can't provide any preference to a board member, right? You have to almost review them as if they were blind. You didn't know who the applicants were. But as long as staff understands that that has to be done when they go to review the applications, I think if we make these few changes, you will continue to be able to have an advisory board that you appoint the members of. They will be able to provide programmatic recommendations to the board, and then ultimately they can participate if they are located in that neighborhood. So what I propose to do is submit these formal requests through legislation as appropriate. It won't be me, it'll be whoever does it. And I will give Michelle proposed changes to your code of ethics that you can consider at your very next meeting. Any questions?
I'm good?
Yeah, because we still get to keep the advisory board.
Yes,
Yes.
that was the goal.
Participate, Yeah.
Yep. So it just makes clear that they only will be doing recommendations on programs.
Right.
So, thank you. Let me know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Sue. Good job. Okay, so that, so we'll see some legislation advancing shortly to amend the ordinance. That leaves us with the BCP launch updates. Michelle?
Yeah, so just a couple quick kind of FYIs. Obviously, we formally rolled out the program. We got a press release out today. Got a little bit of news coverage for that already. We've been out in the neighborhoods. We were out at Salt Springs for neighborhood picnic last night, promoting the program, talking to neighbors about it. Have gotten a lot of inquiries already. We've actually received one application already from some folks in Tip Hill. So first thing this morning, so they were on it, which is great to see. I think largely we've gotten good feedback from people. I think there's certainly a couple areas that are just a matter of kind of making sure that people understand kind of the design of it. So one of those being getting a lot of questions kind of around the proximity thing of line of sight of houses. I think our response to that for anyone who is asking or coming before us is obviously a big part of the program is people getting to know their neighbors, working together. We're not looking to use that as be a stickler about that requirement. So I think in the event that someone is in a situation where they absolutely can't find any neighbors on their street that are willing to go in on this program, but they really want to do it, I think we would absolutely work with them to see, can we widen out your street radius a little bit? Can we pair you up with some other neighbors who are in similar situations that are finding themselves kind of the only one on their street and put them together as kind of a package team? So absolutely willing to work with people on that kind of stuff. Because again, it gets us to the same place of people getting to know their neighbors, working together. And that's what we want at the end of the day. So that, and as well as just kind of the questions around the larger grant programming, there's certainly, I think people are very excited for when bigger programs are coming. So that's a good challenge for everyone here at this table of keeping us on schedule. There's a lot of eager folks that would like to see those rolled out as soon as possible. So continue work on kind of formalizing the terms of what those look like over the next couple months. But I think the timeline that we're working on for that is we would definitely like to be live at the first of the year. So.
I can't believe Tip Hill got an application in already. That's amazing.
Wasn't you, Counselor, was it?
No, no, I'm ineligible.
Okay, I don't know. I'm confused.
And nobody wants to pair up with me anyways. But it's, I'm copied on some, there's a lot of interest
Yeah.
and critiques from our favorite people.
Yeah, I haven't
And
read
I
it
imagine
yet.
you're
but-
getting copied too, Mayor, aren't
I
you?
am.
Yes.
But actually, I think it's for me, and I haven't read the latest yet, but to Michelle's point, there's a lot of appetite. I think we just also have to acknowledge that when we're working with different neighborhoods are in different places. I mean, Tip Hill has been organized as a neighborhood association for many years, has gone through probably, multiple rounds of the Syracuse Neighborhood Initiative. I mean, they've been through this before. Salt Springs, on the other hand, the neighborhood is just beginning to get organized, which is really cool to see. And I think, so I think we just need to acknowledge that that neighborhoods are going to be in different places, and perhaps what works for one doesn't work for the other, and that's just something that we're going to have to continue to evaluate. But I think that's what we're seeing right now.
And I think demographically, it's interesting that the Tipperary Hill neighborhood, I mean, the houses are only 3 yards apart. So people are open porches, people just know their neighbors, and all the way up and down the street too. So that what partnering is sort of natural type thing for neighborhood stuff,
Yeah, a lot of interest. Good problem to have.
Absolutely, yep. So we'll be having a series of meetings. We have a webinar that will be scheduled for tomorrow afternoon at noon. So we'll record that, so anyone who isn't able to watch it live will be able to go back and watch the recording of it. We will also be having meetings on Wednesday. We're going to be in Tip Hill up at the Burnett Park warming room. Thursday, we will be at James Commons at Lemoyne. And then 2 weeks from now, the week of September 10th and 11th, we will be at Sewell Library and then back at Burnett Park Warming Rink, respectively, for some open houses. That'll be a little bit more kind of informal drop-in. We'll have staff there to talk to people, answer questions, do technical assistance. And then kind of based on what participation is in those meetings, we might look to get a couple other meetings scheduled a few weeks out. We were trying to kind of avoid the first week of back to school. For everyone, just knowing it's a busy week, but we're certainly happy to always add presentations. We are also going to be doing a series of mailers, postcard mailers out to houses, and we'll be doing some door knocking too in the next couple weeks while we still got some weather.
Address the far west side.
So the far west side for this portion of the time for the Block Challenge program, we'll take applications from neighbors that are over there. So anyone, if they are meeting the requirements, we'll allow them to participate in this
But are they
program.
actually on that particular area paying attention to what's going on?
We're circulating all of the information to everyone, the same way that we are everyone else, sending information out to homeowners in that area. So, I mean, I think we're, in terms of kind of how we're identifying homeowners to be on the mailing lists, like when we're sending out postcards, we're doing the same kind of methodology of selecting homeowners for that. So sending, for this round, we'll be sending them directly to every single property address as well as the tax billing address. For any of the property owners. So it gives you, can still reach tenants that might be interested in the program, since that is a eligible group that is able to participate at this point, so.
We have some neighborhood watch groups over there
Yep.
too.
Yeah, Neighborhood Watch, certainly, any of those, we're happy to have staff do presentations there. We'll be making the rounds at TNT and all the usual neighborhood associations, so.
Meetings.
Yep, yeah, we'll do.
Good idea. Any other questions, comments, business to come before the board? Good. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Moving.